YouTube channel. My name is Wangoi Mwangi and I'm a Kenyan RN. Kenyan trained and been practicing in Kenya for about a decade or more. So today I'm doing an interesting video and I'm just answering a friend of mine, a number of friends actually, who have been asking this question, like what are the requirements to become a UK RN if you're foreign trained? Um, so if this is a topic that you'd be interested in, I will be happy to actually talk about this. I will start with the UK. I will go then to talk about requirements. So nursing is that career that most countries will be looking for people to fill up those gaps. And the more the patients, the more the care that will be needed. And if you have been practicing as a nurse for some time, it's actually very easy to get burnt out and look for other channels of making a living. And therefore, there will always be those gaps in most places. So now in the UK, if you're interested to come to the UK in 2023, if you're Kenyan, remember there is the amber list, so I'm going to digest that a little bit after I talk about the requirements. So there are two main requirements. We have the competency requirements, and this requires you to do a number of tests, and these are mainly three main exams. The first one is called IELTS by the British Council. In Kenya, this is actually the cheaper option. You have a number of tests that you can do to show this competency, and it's just a competency so that you can speak in fluent English. We are still talking about the requirements. I said there are two broad categories of the requirements. That's about the competencies, and then we have registration application. For registration application, is actually a process that starts with you being verified by the Nursing Council of Kenya, that you're in their register and that you're of a nurse of good standing and you are free to actually travel abroad. So this is where you apply. The whole process actually takes place online, except for the part you have to go to the Nursing Council of Kenya. So you get you get to the NMC, the Nursing and Midwifery Council of the UK. There you go to their website and you create an account with them so that you have an online account with them. So NMC Online is where you actually will register your documentation. You actually don't need to have someone do this for you, because it's pretty easy, it's self-explanatory, and people are doing it from all over the world. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, so I will speak about the registration applications requirements, because this was the first one to begin with to some extent, but I will digest both requirements at the same time. All right, please stay tuned. I'm still going to take ahead. Step one in this process begins with you completing the NMC eligibility assessment, and this is ensuring that before you start your application, you have contacted all your referees and verifiers to ensure that their details are correct, as well as they give consent on sharing their contact details with the NMC. So what this means is you're going to provide the name and address of your education institution. So for example, sorry, I'm just gonna give examples with Kenyans because I'm a Kenyan and I understand Kenyan nursing. In Kenya, you can either train with a school of nursing, an MTC, or a university. So whichever that you trained with, you're going to give a verification that you actually qualified and trained there. All right, so you're going to provide the name of the MTC. Usually they may not actually ask you to just write the name. They will ask you for your diploma or degree certificate verified by the institution where you went. For most institutions, this process costs about 5,000. So you need that verification, and you send it to the NMC. So you have to gather all the documents together before you start this process. All right, okay. While digesting step one, I've talked about your eligibility, the NMC eligibility assessment. You're going to provide proof of identity, and this is where you give information of your biodata page of your passport. So it's important to have a valid passport. and you should have the details right as you do this, and if possible have it scanned and uploaded in the original version to be shown face to face on verification. They are very strict on this during your OSCE, especially when you come to sit for the OSCE, because the OSCE is sat in the UK. You will have to show proof of the passport you used while back home. All right. The next certificate you require in the step 1 of the process is qualification certificate. As I said, that your diploma or degree certificate verified by the school that offered it. That's what you're going to prefer. And then when you qualified and you are trained by the institution that you went to and you got your diploma, you got registered and licensed by the Nursing Council of Kenya. So you need professional registration, or to prove that you have professional registration. So for this to happen, you need to first of all pay the evaluation fee, which is usually £140, but this is after the verification has gone through. Okay, so in Kenya, this verification for your registration, you have to write to the Nursing Council of Kenya, and then you have to pay a fee of 12,000, or rather that's how much I knew it was in the last few years when I was doing my process. So I did my process, and that's why I'm talking about this. Before I share my personal story, I'm just gonna give the details of the requirements. So you need 12,000. Probably right now is a little bit higher, and then you need them to verify to the NMC that you are qualified, licensed, and practicing in Kenya. So then after you have done that, you will require to pay the evaluation fee. Remember, this is the NMC evaluation eligibility assessment. So the evaluation fee is usually £140. So the NMC will send you a confirmation email after payment to take note of your CRM number, which you will need for the next step. So we are still talking of step 1. Then you're going to obtain a state board verification, SBV, from PRC, that is the Nursing Council of Kenya, and submit to the NMC for verification. So a copy of your valid Nursing Council license is needed. The confirmation email of payment will be needed, and any other thing that you need. For the Nursing Council, they will actually require you to have a certificate of good standing. That is the good conduct that we get from the DCI. And then you will also need to submit the documents that you qualified with for the degree or diploma of nursing that you have. You will also need to have a letter of recommendation from one of the nurses or 2 people that know you in your professional capacity. All right, we move on. So once you have submitted all these documents, remember we are still doing the step 1, then you submit these documents again. You wait for the eligibility decision. So the NMC will make a decision on whether you are eligible to apply to become a UK RN in their register. So the NMC is the body that will actually put you in the register for nurses in the UK, and you have to practice within the NMC code of 2018 or 2021. You have to adhere to the code, and this code actually says we have to prioritize people, we have to practice effectively, we have to preserve safety, and we have to promote professionalism and trust. Therefore, as you're submitting your documents, you have to be truthful. It's very bad to be dishonest. You'd rather be truthful if you have a flaw in your documentation than lie about it and come with false pretenses, because that's gonna be costly. All right, we are going to start next step. So the other category, step 2, is about the competencies, and in this part you're going to require to do a number of examinations. You have to take the recognized examination. So as I said, for English competency, you can either do IELTS or OET to prove that your English language proficiency, and these are accepted. So for example, if you decide to take IELTS, I will be speaking this again in another video. IELTS is an international English language test system, and you must take the academic module with your NMC registration, and you can also do IELTS UKVI. All right, it has 4 sections. The first one is listening, reading, writing, speaking. and the highest score you can get in each category is 9. The NMC requires that at least 7 for overall, so 7 overall, and all subtests apart except for writing 6.5 is acceptable. So the rest you can get 7, 7, 7, and I think they updated it earlier this year in 2022, and now I think for speaking and writing you can have 6.5, 6.5, but the rest you have to get 7. So reading, listening, you have to get 7, then you can get 6.5, 6.5. The overall score will be band 7. You can also do either paper-based or computer-based IELTS, depending on your choice. I have done them both, and I prefer the computer-based version. The paper-based one is easier if it's your first time to take IELTS. However, I really love, I attempted the academic, the computer-delivered, computer-based exam, and it's actually very good. All right, you can also do OET, which is the Occupational English Test, and this is more specific about, it'll have questions that are relating to nursing or to the medical field at least, so it's considered easier. I didn't talk about the cost. For IELTS in Kenya right now, I think it's about 30,000, and that's just for the exam. If you need to pay someone to train you, that will cost you between 10 and 20,000. So yeah. So for OET, to take the test back home in Kenya, it costs about 50,000 Kenyan. So yeah, it's a bigger investment. For someone to train you, it's between 20,000 to 30,000. So depending on where you're getting your training, OET is more expensive. However, the people who have done it say it's much, much easier to pass IELTS. Some people can be stuck in the IELTS process because they are not able to pass or get the required band, but when they try OET they pass in the first attempt. So you can consider that if that has been your struggle. So for OET, you can actually sit for this exam at home sometimes. It eliminates the need to travel to the test center. The OET at home is a test identical to the test standards and test venue centers, but this allows for the candidate to take their OET on their own computer at home. So OET has two major advantages. You can either go to a testing center or you can actually do OET at home, which is very, very good. If you think about it, it's very convenient. Then the computer test is also available to take at the test center instead of doing the previous paper-based test. They used to have paper-based tests, but most recently they switched to the computer-based. I hope they're still paper-based though, because sometimes you can fail if you're more used to the paper than the computer. It has the same category with IELTS, so we have listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the highest score you can achieve in this is A. The NMC requires that you have at least a B in all the categories, and the overall score for writing is C+. That is now acceptable. So something has gone a bit lower. So it's very, very important to notice those, because without those requirements, you cannot move forward. You might have to retake and retake until you have the right requirements. And then once you have done this, don't worry, they don't keep score of how many times you attempted. So if you have attempted IELTS even 4 or 5 times, it's okay. If you can still afford it, just pay for the next one. However, they don't consider, they will only refund for you the cost of one test once you land to the UK. So the next competency that you need to do is step 3, which is the computer-based nursing test that is done and verified by the NMC. This is called the Test of Competence 1, which is called CBT in short. This is the theory part of nursing questions. It will be MCQ, but you will require to do some calculations in some questions. Right now, I didn't do the new test of competency, the new CBT. I did the legacy CBT. But this one I hear they have 2 parts. One is numeracy, the other one is theory. But anyway, it's pretty easy to go through and pass because, of course, you've been a nurse for a while and nursing can be pretty easy. So yeah, so you have to do this and finish. However, you need to know for CBT, you have to choose. It's at this point you choose your specialty. So, you know, in Kenya, you're trained and you can be a general nurse, and you can find yourself maybe in the mental, in the psychiatric department, then you're moved to the surgical department, then to the maternity. In the UK, they are pretty specific. So you have to choose between being an adult nurse, that's called RNA. You can also choose between mental health nurse, that is RNMH, and then we have learning disabilities nurse, RNLD, and then we have children's nurse, that is RNC. All right. So if you want to work with children and you want to do pediatrics, primarily you have to do a different CBT. Yes, CBT and OSCE than the person who is doing adults. All right. So I only have experience with RNA adults because I have been in oncology and mostly with adult patients, so that's what I decided to do. Usually it's a computer-based test, but you can't take it in your house. You have to go to an authorized test center. So the test center that I know is called UNICEF, and it is in Westlands. It has different branches, I understand. So you just have to check out the one that is closest to you and do it there. So maybe to mention the structure of the exam, we have 120 multiple choice questions to be completed within 4 hours. So there will be about 50 questions related to the generic nursing competencies in each domain. You will learn about domains, don't worry. When you are interested, we'll learn about those domains. And then you're going to have 50 questions of application in these competencies. Then you will have 20 questions about specific competencies on the field applying. For example, if you're applying for adult nursing, the 20 questions will be about specific to adult nursing. If you're doing mental health, the same. And if you're doing child or children, then you will still have the same. All right. Pretty simplified and not very hard to do. So what are my tips? I would say don't dwell so much in one question for too long. If you're not sure, you look at those questions like this and you're sure this I know, you just go ahead, right? Select the most correct answer you believe in and move on. And then once you're done, you will have a lot of time. I think I finished my CBT in an hour, and I reviewed it in 30 minutes, and I was really stressed because I have finished so early, and I think I left earlier. I didn't stay for the 4 hours in the test center. So the results will be emailed to you within 48 hours after the exam, and view it from your Pearson VUE online account. Just appears as a pass, and that's the best thing you can do. You need to take a screenshot, send it to your employer or your agents if you already have an agent. I will speak about the agency part because nowadays you have to fly alone until the point you have found yourself a job. Now I will talk about step 4, and step 4 is about to complete your registration or your registration application. So remember, now you have already had your NMC eligibility assessment in step 1. In step 2, what did we have? We had the English competencies. In step 3, we did the competency called CBT, Test of Competency Part 1. Then now in 4, you complete your registration application. So the registration application in your NMC online account, you will have a number of things that you need to do. So the first and foremost, you need to give health evidence, and this is a self-declaration on your health condition, and you must declare any condition that may affect your practice. So it's not a problem to have any deformities or to have any health related problems, but you have to declare them. So if you're expecting, please do declare that you are expectant. If you have a condition that is managed appropriately, there's no need to let the NMC know about. Only that will affect your work that may require maybe special duties or special provisions and all. Otherwise, if it doesn't affect your work, no worries. You don't have to mention that. If you have any condition or disability that is not managed, you have to provide further information so the NMC can decide if you are fit to practice or not. So there is that part again. Once you do this, you have to provide details of a qualified medical practitioner. If you have a family doctor, this would be a good place to start. Or you cannot use your friend. You have to use a professional doctor. And then the health assessment must be carried out in the last 6 months. So if 6 months have lapsed since your first application, that will have expired and you will be required to repeat the same. No worries, I have done this for a number of times, so it's okay. I think I've done it 3 times so far, and it's fine because you just communicate with them and they communicate to the doctor, and the doctor gives the account of your things. Then the next thing that you will need to do is character evidence in this step 4, and this is a self-declaration about your character, that you're a person of good standing and that you don't have any police charges. So conviction or conditional discharges you have received, as well determination from regulatory bodies. If you have had maybe a case with the nursing council, or you have been reported by a patient for negligence, or you've ever been taken to a court of law regarding nursing and beyond, then you need to declare it here. If there is none, then everything else will be no. All right. For you in this category, you're going to provide some evidences. The first one is police clearance. So the police clearance certificate in Kenya is also known as a good conduct. We apply for it online, and then you have to go for your biometrics and fingerprints. So this, you go to the physical, either police post or Huduma Center. If you're within Nairobi, the Huduma Centers are pretty effective with this, and you can get it within the first time I did it, I think I got it within 2 days, but nowadays it takes about 3 weeks. So the one I have currently, I took, and it took about 3 weeks. So remember, the certificates expires every 6 months, and you have to retake every 6 months. If you started this early in the application, because you will need it for the nursing council verification, if in 6 months you haven't traveled to the UK, you need to redo it. Yeah, you need to have a fresh one by the time you're going to the UK. However, it's cheap because it's 1,050 bob. It's cheaper than the other things that you're paying for in the process. So what else will you require? In the same for character declaration or evidences, you're going to be required to do disclosure and barring service. And this is if you have lived in the UK for 3 months or more. You need to apply for something called DBS. Don't worry about that, you will know about it once you land here. You will just give your documentation and your details, and then it will appear in your mail. Then if you have worked in any other country other than your home country, let's say I am nurse trained in Kenya, then I went to work in Zimbabwe, and then I left Zimbabwe, I went to Botswana, and I worked in those places for more than a year, I will still provide police clearance certificates for Botswana and Namibia and any other country that I worked in for more than a year. If you haven't worked in any other country, it's just your home country, it's just your home country, and then the DBS. For some, when you land, for some countries, some people are required to do a police check, and this is a different thing from DBS. I think you pay about 34 to 43 pounds for this. I'm not very clear with it because I wasn't required to do this. However, if you're required to do this, you're supposed to report to the nearest police post, police station that is highlighted in your visa letter. Once you get your visa, you'll get this information in your visa letter. So you visit the police station marked on your visa letter, and they will guide you on the same. So still in this step, the 5th step, you have to upload the documents that we talked about. So you have to upload your certificate that is verified by the training institution. You also have to upload the IELTS certificate, the CBT screenshot that you passed, and then you will require to prove any supporting character declaration from a nominated person. So who can be nominated as a person is, for supporting character declaration, you can either use your recent employer, you can use an education institution where you graduated and gained qualification. You can also use an MC registrant or UK regulated healthcare professional whom you have known for a year and have been in contact in the last 6 months from submitting your application. So you have a number of options, and if you cannot provide any of the above, NMC will ask you to give details of 2 people from their list of approved signatories to provide character reference. So you can use your referees as well. So still in step 5, you have to confirm indemnity arrangement, and this is a legal requirement in the UK for every UK registered nurse, as it will ensure that you're covered in case a claim is made against you while in practice. Most employers such as NHS and some private sectors provide indemnity cover. Make sure you check that it is in place, otherwise you can arrange with unions such as RCN or Unison once you get here, because you know in the nursing field what happens if you do something and someone is accusing you of negligence or omission or commission of something, or something in a tort law, you can be found culpable, and therefore you need someone to have your back or someone to actually give you guidance. So usually unions are good, but still having an indemnity arrangement is proper. At this point, then you will be required to pay an additional registration fee, that is £153. Okay, so now up to this point, the only other thing you require is the certificate of sponsorship from your employer. You do an interview now. At this point, you can do your interview, get your certificate of sponsorship, and then your ticket and your visa, and you fly to the UK. So let's see what happens once you get to the UK. Once you land in the UK, that you go to step 5. Step 5 is take the objective structured clinical examination, in short OSCE. And after completion of IELTS and CBT and initial requirements, employer grant an applicant the certificate of sponsorship. So this is necessary to obtain Tier 2 working visa, for skilled worker visa or healthcare worker visa. You can move to the UK and complete OSCE. When you're given this visa, it is pegged on your ability to pass OSCE. So usually it states that you have only 3 months from your employment start date indicated in your COS to sit in the OSCE exam. So for example, you got your COS in July or maybe in June, you have until September to have passed your OSCE. So once to have sat at least for the first one, and then if you have receipts, you only have 3 attempts, and if you fail in these 3 attempts, then you can risk losing your certificate of sponsorship and you can be sent back home. However, this rarely does happen. Once you stick through to it, it gets better. It really gets better, guys. So we have a number of tests centers for this OSCE. So we have Oxford has two centers, and then we have Northampton, we have Northumbria, and we have Ulster University. So these are very helpful to know, because it doesn't matter where you're sent, because the first OSCE is booked by your hospital or institution, or they pay for it, so they book it for you, and you can find yourself landing in any of these centers. So once you land there, they will guide you how to get there, or you have to use Google Map. That's the best I can come up with. So at this point, you are legally employed as a pre-registered nurse. You will also need to show your valid passport for a face-to-face identity check on the day of the test. Actually, it's not just a passport. You will require all the documents you uploaded in the NMC website while doing your eligibility assessment. You will require your BRP. BRP, you will collect it once you land in the UK. Within the first 7 to 10 days, it should be arriving at your post office. So they will let you know which post office to go pick it up at, but it's usually the post office closest to your workplace. So the fee for OSCE is £784, and the receipt fee, if you're receiving less than 7 stations, is going to be £397. So it's very important, because the employer will pay for you the £794 for the first attempt, and if you fail, some employers will ask you to pay your own receipt fee, which is £397. And if you're in the UK, you know how much pounds that is. So you need to prepare. Most employers will provide some training of some sort, but you can also train online using Facebook. Not Facebook, I mean, actually there are people who train on Facebook, social media, basically YouTube. Just make it your habit to study with those videos. So yeah, so by 2022 February, there were 5. The first one is Oxford Brookes University, and then the other one is University of Northampton. Then there's Ulster University, there's then Leeds Teaching Hospital, and there's Northumbria Hospital. So make sure you also maximize on reminding yourself about the NMC code, especially the NMC 2018, because the NMC blueprint and test specifications are given in that. Then you will get the NMC OSCE information booklet and the NMC OSCE marking criteria. Take that to heart. The criteria is your friend. The marking criteria is what you will use to train for your OSCE, and you can only get access once you're on this side, because even when you're taking the test, you have to sign non-disclosure agreement. So I can't tell you like what I was tested for. That is for me to know and for me to find out only. So yeah, that is something you sign up for. So we are still we have finished step 5. You have done your OSCE. Now you have passed. What next? There is NMC assessment. So NMC, once you have passed your test of competency and completed the registration application, is going to contact your referees to verify your information. And if NMC needs further information about your supporting details, they will contact you through email. All you have to do at this stage is wait for the registration outcome and decision from the NMC. So that is step 6. I'm happy to move to step 7. So now the decision has been made. So step 7 is congratulations, you're now UKRN. The NMC has decided, and after receiving your confirmation of registration from the NMC, you will automatically be in the register, so you can practice as a band 5 in the hospital or trust that have employed you. And celebration. So 7 quick steps, not very tedious. You can do the first up to where you have done. You can fly here. You can do those ones in like 3 to 6 months if you're in Kenya, and sooner if you're in other places. So it's not very hard. However, when I did my process, it took me more than a year or more. But when I got really serious, once I got all the paperwork done, it took less than 3 months. So it is possible, guys. All right, so I'm gonna just sum up. So thank you so much for watching this video, and if you want more information on the same topic, please remember I'm here and I'm ready to help. I have more information for you guys. So if the next country I will be doing the requirements for becoming an RN, if you're Kenyan trained or you are foreign trained, then I will be speaking about the US process as I understand it from a Kenyan perspective. However, the information may help people in a varied manner because there's different requirements for different countries. So yeah. Oh, and I did not mention the COVID requirements for travel. You will still require to take a PCR test before your flight, at least 48 hours before your flight. Should be like a day before you travel, because nowadays we have these tests that are done and you get them within 24 hours, so that it's valid for 72 hours. So yeah, there is that. You will require to have your vaccinations for COVID, but they usually follow the WHO guidelines on COVID regulations. So but then depending on which airline you're traveling aboard, you need to know their regulations as well, because the UK doesn't have any restrictions at the moment. You can travel without masks, you can travel without having been vaccinated. It's actually your choice to get vaccinated or not. However, you can want to travel to the UK. They don't have any issue with you. However, they will need the airline that you will travel with will require these documentations and reassurance that you're COVID free. So I took the test and I showed them my certificates of vaccination. So I hope you have enjoyed the information in the video. I will be doing a lot more videos. It's been a while since I did the video, and for obvious reasons, as you can see. So for this and much more, please stay tuned. Please encourage me by subscribing, liking, and commenting. If you have questions, you can put them in the comment section. I will try to engage you as much as possible. Until we see each other again, much love and ciao. Bye.